This is a Founding Media podcast.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Heather Wagner Reed, and I am the host of Up and Comers, a podcast series here in Austin, Texas, all about the innovation community and the startup boom that is here in our beautiful city. And I am here today with two amazing powerhouse females who are pretty much at the epicenter of that community, Jan Ryan and Lisa Graham. Thank you for coming today.
Thanks for having us. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I want to introduce them. So Jan Ryan is a self-described serial entrepreneur. She's the executive director of entrepreneurship and innovation at the University of Texas, and she's the founder of Women at Austin. And Lisa Graham is the owner and founder of Notley. And I'm going to let them both get into what their organizations do and pretty much why we're here today. But I understand it that Women at Austin is joining Notley's social impact ecosystem. And so we're going to talk about that convergence and what that means. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So tell me more about Women at Austin. What is this organization? And then we'll start with Notley.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to be in my happy place, because this is one of my favorite topics, women entrepreneurs and the next generation of entrepreneurs. But Women at Austin was actually created 4 years ago. I launched it in a time when women were really much more in silos, and we didn't have a lot of entrepreneurial focus and support for women at that time. Women at Austin is really a network, and we'll tell you a little bit more about this later, but it's organized around a single vision, which is to make Austin the most accessible, supportive city in the nation for women entrepreneurs. So what I mean by that is if you live in Idaho and you wake up with a great idea for something, you immediately go pack your bags and move to Austin because of this amazing ecosystem. And we do have that opportunity that, the entrepreneurial ecosystem is very rich in Austin. Mm-hmm. And why I'm excited about being a part of the social impact system with Notley is that they're really galvanizing this collective action around helping to grow and scale businesses and nonprofits, so that you can have an opportunity to really have an impact on the community. And because we're so closely aligned in that vision, it couldn't be more exciting for us to be a part of that.
Wonderful. That's really, really exciting and timely for so many reasons. But let's hear about Notley. Tell us more about what Notley's doing.
Yeah. So we like to say that we work at the intersection of for-profit and nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And really, another great way that we kind of describe what we do is we like to bring together human capital, knowledge capital, and financial capital to really create social impact. And so it's this idea around how do you bring people and money and amazing ideas together to scale nonprofits and for-profits alike that are working on social impact. And so that's our passion. And so we've done that through some real estate. We've done that through working with nonprofits. We do a fast pitch competition for nonprofits. And then working with organizations like Women at Austin that are really impacting our society by, I think one of the biggest impacts that we see in our society is to be able to get more women and to start their own businesses, to be running companies, and to really start reflecting our population. And so once we can do that, I think our society, it's going to be the biggest impact that we see in our society. So we're very excited about this organization.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear a little bit more about both of your backgrounds, because you're a serial entrepreneur, and I know that you've been in this community a long time, and Notley has been helping a lot of other organizations for quite some years now. So tell me more about your background so we can piece it all together.
Sure. I've got 32 years in tech, and started out with IBM. I have a background that's kind of like the first half of my career was inside of venture-backed startups, typically leading the revenue side of that as a chief revenue officer, and ended up about halfway through my career wanting to really realize this thing that was bubbling in me, which was to start a company that actually create something that people could use and have value. Mm-hmm. And I actually did take that leap into the journey, and I've had two startups that I basically brought from ideation and on to being acquired. One was in 2006, was acquired by Oracle, And the second one was Social Dynamics, which in 2012 was acquired by Lithium Technologies. So I guess, really when you think about where I am now, after that last acquisition, I truly wanted to give back, and I wanted to give back specifically to women, because when you've gone through this process of, raising funds and all of the uncertainty and the ambiguity and knowing that the journey also is a little bit different for women, you do find yourself wanting to go back and help and teach. But I literally couldn't find anybody in 2012, 2013 to hang out with.
Wow.
Because it was a very different time for women entrepreneurs. And that's where I did find, about 10 women where we came together and ideated this all volunteer organization to be that organization that helped women come together and break the rules and really learn from each other, which is what women love to do anyway.
Right.
And that's kind of the beginning of this journey that we had.
Wonderful. What about you, Lisa?
My background.
Yeah.
So I like to say I'm not an entrepreneur, but I started a business. But we, so my background, I have always been really interested in social impact, but I always really thought that would manifest itself through policy. So I was more of like policy wonk. I went to, my master's in public affairs. I wanted to work in government.
Yeah.
But through that journey, really found a partner. My husband's an entrepreneur, so got exposed to this environment that I actually grew up not really even knowing existed. And then through that as well, the nonprofit community. And so it was kind of this intermingling of passions with entrepreneurship, nonprofit, and impact. And so I've started a nonprofit, grew that, passed that off to somebody else. And then when the opportunity came that we could start Notley and really meld these ideas of a for-profit, doing some investments that could then feed a nonprofit entity where we could also be making investments and having that philosophy around our philanthropy, that's just where I really got energized. And so that's where Notley was born. And we've been doing it now since 2015.
Okay.
And have grown it from there.
Wonderful. Yeah. And how did you two come together? How did you know, what were the worlds that collided?
I think that was probably through Dan that we came together, but through the ecosystem in general. We, at Women in Austin, we continued to grow much more rapidly than we thought. We were actually still, until September, 100% volunteer organization.
Wow.
And we grew to over 1,000 people in the network. So it's very difficult to have consistent programming and support that kind of population when you're working a full-time job somewhere else and you don't have a single employee.
Right.
So I am now at the university. We can talk a little bit about that. But I was talking to Dan one day when he was at the university at the School of Design and Creative Technologies. We were talking about some things we were doing. And we started to just share about some of the things that we had, the opportunity that we had. And that's where this came together, is realizing, wow, that need that you have to have more structure and more resources is actually where you cut your teeth and add the most value to, these types of organizations. And that's when we started to talk and just we're finishing each other's sentences, because the vision and the excitement couldn't be any more on tune with the two organizations.
So the social impact ecosystem, what does that mean exactly to become part of that at Notley? And then how do you support this organization exactly?
Yeah, I think in terms of becoming part of the Notley ecosystem, I think it's different for the different programs that we worked with. I think, like Jan said, it was kind of an immediate, yes, this has to be done. What you're doing is so important. And what's actually really great too about Women in Austin is it had this amazing programming that was being done purely on a volunteer basis. There was a huge need, and women could come to the Women at Austin events and walk away and immediately start applying what they were learning and interacting with folks and start building their business and working on scale. And so what we've been able to do then is we do consulting, and we work with other nonprofits as well and we back office staff these programs. So
Okay.
we were able to come in with a staff. We currently have a staff of about 18 that we're able to then plug in and focus on this to really make it more robust.
Wow.
And do that, and then really look to say, okay, how can we put resources behind this so that it can start supporting itself and to grow even more as its own organization. So it is still its very own 501c3 that we're supporting.
Yeah.
I think that that scale and of what you're talking about and the resources are just what's so critical. I mean, when I think about what I really get excited about, it's first of all, it is that scale, being able to take the ideas that we have had as a steering committee. For instance, I have 21 women on our board, our steering committee.
Right.
Have those things actually have the ability to own aspects of those, and someone can actually go help us do those to scale this organization and the impact. The second one is to amplify, to really take a lot of these connections that are made in events for women in Austin, so many people, so many stories just abound for how women made connections and had co-founders and courage and commitment, all of those things coming out of these Women at Austin events. And how do they really, how do you take that and actually extend it? How do you take the playbook that we have developed and move it to other, markets?
Right.
And then
Although you don't want to leave Austin, you want everybody.
no. But being able to really, like a business, have those resources, have the operational excellence that Notley is known for, have honestly the passion and the authenticity that they're known for, to make a big difference is what's exciting to us.
It's so exciting to learn how, both organizations offer so much. And so now coming together, I'm curious about this just recently happened. And so where do you see yourself in another year or 3 years? I guess I'm asking you that question.
Personally, or the organization?
The Women at Austin organization.
Oh, I think that we've only just skimmed the surface.
Right.
So we want to do things like, first of all, even expand our steering committee. There's a very interesting secret sauce to Women at Austin and the success we've had, and that is that we have these leaders that have come together that also care about this mission, and that they are investing with their time and their commitment and their business acumen and their connections. And so we want to expand that, and we want to enable them to be organized around their areas of passion. We want to do things that lift all boats for other organizations by, developing alliances that we don't have time for or we haven't developed. We want to be able to have an aggregated area for data about women and potential board members and, the resources that women need in the community, because that still actually is pretty fragmented. And there's not a real centralized place to go do that. These are things as well as a calendar, just something as simple as having a calendar where women can go and they can see what options they have.
Yeah.
So in a way that really truly lets each organization that's a part of that ecosystem do what they do best by having us own some of that in a central way.
What type of programming are you offering? What would somebody anticipate once they get involved with Women at Austin to happen?
Well, I can talk a little bit about what we're doing today. We're actually, however, going to be expanding this programming. It's one of the most exciting parts about this union. But today we have a set of and a series of roundtables that happen every month, almost every month. And we have someone who's very, very experienced, usually, come in and lead this interactive roundtable that happens over lunch. And it's always designed to have strong Q&A. So it's a time when you hear from someone, but then you just get into it. And women love to be able to learn from each other. That's a secret that a lot of people don't understand. When you put women together, they come out of there with something always that they've learned. And that cross-pollination is such an interesting thing to watch, because you have aspiring entrepreneurs and you have more senior entrepreneurs. So we have those roundtables that have been very popular and always sell out very quickly. And then we have a series once a quarter of venture dinners. So this one is a very interesting product, if you will, because we bring together in a very unusual way women that are aspiring to raise money and VCs, established VCs. Wonderful. So we handpick 5 women and 5 VCs, and then JP Morgan underwrites this generously for us so that we can go to a really cool place. Like last time was a great room downstairs at the Fairmont. Okay. And we just have authentic conversations. So it's not a pitch event, even though women entrepreneurs are always pitching. Yeah. But it's not a pitch event, but it's a way for you to drop your guard and to get to know each other. And the men, usually, and I have to say they're almost always men because there's not a lot of women. Yeah. But most of the time it's men. They suddenly realize what it's like to sit on the other side and to ask questions like, why when we come to you and we ask, or we pitch and then we ask your opinions, why is it sometimes hard for VCs or established, institutional VCs, just give us the honest feedback? Because sometimes I don't think, sometimes men, don't want to hurt your feelings, or they don't want to, be too hard on you, which is the opposite of what women want. Yeah. In fact, Yvonne Tacchini, after this last event, wrote a blog post. It's on our website, womenautaustin.com. And she wrote a blog post about that event, and it's called We're Tougher Than You Think, because that was a quote from one of our entrepreneurs that basically assured everyone, we do want that feedback. We want to know what it is we need to change. Yeah. And if this is not something that you feel like you can invest in, why not? What do I need to think about? How do I need to? So it's this kind of thing. We're breaking down the barriers. We're, enabling women to develop those connections, because when you're looking for money, the whole idea of fundraising, it's a 99% relational game. And it has to happen from the very beginning of your venture, not just at the last minute when you suddenly decide you need money.
Yeah. Wow. I love this. It's such a great opportunity. And, clearly I'm a female business owner myself. So it just seems like
come join us.
Wonderful. Oh, yeah. I absolutely will. Absolutely will. So back to, okay, I have many more questions, not many more, a few more questions for you. But Lisa, I was going to ask you about how Notley decides to bring in organizations like this. I mean, how many are you working with? And, clearly we know why you chose Jan, but I'm curious who else you're working with and what else you're doing, because it is this really beautiful ecosystem that you're creating.
Sure. I think the most recent that we've brought in is Women at Austin. And before that, we actually brought in a group called Student Inc. They were born out of the Bizarre Voice Foundation, and they actually work with student entrepreneurs. And so they do some in-school programming, but also what we're doing now is looking at this ecosystem. And there's a lot of organizations in Austin that are doing wonderful things in schools and working with students to teach entrepreneurship and to teach entrepreneurial thinking. And we really believe that that's kind of a key place that our education system can adapt and focus to really teach our students these days to start to be able to adapt to this new world that we're living in, that we're all trying to figure out. And that type of thinking, I think, is the real key to that. So that's been really amazing. And so Kelly Ballard is heading that up for us. We also do our key, we like to say our like capstone programs, only because they were the two that we initially were working on, are Startup Games and Philanthropitch. So Philanthropitch is a fast pitch competition for nonprofits. We like to call it the Dolphin Tank because we have judges who are much nicer than those on Shark Tank. But the idea is we have an application process, and it's for nonprofits to pitch their idea. But what they do in this process is it's working directly with executive directors and board members and working with these executive directors to learn how to talk about their idea in a different way and to talk about funding in a different way, because who they're pitching to at this event is an audience of potential funders and a panel of judges who are entrepreneurs. So these are not heads of family foundations. Yeah. They are people who have started companies and are funding companies and are building companies. So we have had judges, Kendra Scott has been a judge, Tim League, who's building Alamo Draft House, Leon Chen from Tiff Street. So we've had a lot of really wonderful people that have come in and supported this. And so they're learning how to talk about their nonprofit in a different way. And so in order to apply and even get to pitch, these organizations have some really innovative, scalable ideas. And the sizes of these nonprofits range from one employee all the way up to organizations like the Children's Museum here in Austin. We've had the local chapter of Easter Seals pitch. And so they're able to walk away with financial capital and human capital. And we also connect them with local businesses. So they're able to get up and get a check from a local business. And then we've had great stories of organizations like Code to College, headed up by a local ED named Matt Stevenson, who's amazing. And he's now been connected to, the Legacy Collective. And so they're now helping him with some stuff, and they've been able to work together. And he's been working with AISD and some local school districts. So we're very passionate about that as well. And that's been a great program to work with local nonprofits. And then Startup Games is a really fun day of startups getting together. We have 2 events. We have Startup Games and Level Up Games. So smaller companies compete and the larger companies have a day. And it's a great way for companies to get their staff together to really do a lot of team building. Then they get together and compete against other companies. And all the money raised there, the teams pay money. It all goes to charity at the end of the day. So they all pick a local charity that they want to support. And so then that brings in the community and the startup community as well. We have a lot more. I don't know. We have a couple of other organizations we do as well.
Right?
Check out Notley. We also do some real estate, and our biggest thing is we just built the Center for Social Innovation on East Austin, which is a place for local nonprofits and for-profit social ventures to house and to really form that ecosystem where we're all working there together. And we've got a co-working space, so we're doing awesome.
Awesome. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a lot to take in. So, okay, I want to a few more questions, and then we'll probably wrap up. So, what, in both of your opinions, are some of the challenges going back to the female-led business theme? What are the challenges that women are facing? What are the most poignant ones for you that you keep coming up for you, or what are some that maybe we haven't thought about?
Well, clearly, women have a number of different challenges, all the way from being funded and getting access to funds and mentors to just the confidence that's necessary. One of the things I'll say that what I feel passionate about is that to start early is the key. Like, for instance, in my day job, I'm executive director of the Entrepreneurship and Innovation program at the College of Fine Arts, and I'm actually teaching a class in women in entrepreneurship in the spring, where we're focusing on all of those things I just mentioned, but catching them really early and being able to prepare that ecosystem from soup to nuts. I'm going to surround a lot of these women with mentors and with relationships. Even in the classroom, it's the same journey that the entrepreneurial journey, but it's told from the perspective of a woman. So I guess what I'm saying is the acknowledgement that women actually need to be equipped, they need resources, and they need access to these connection groups that seem to be, for years, inaccessible for women. And this is where we're breaking down some barriers, is to make sure that they're equipped to be able to be successful, not just putting them on a stage or teaching them how to do pitch events, but how do you actually get more women to be successful and to have access to these funds once they are introduced.
Wonderful. Okay, what do you think?
Well, just the same question, or
I guess just for you. I mean, as a woman too, just anything that you would say would be, your observation as to some challenges that we have as females.
I mean, I think that's a great question. I think it's a lot of it. And one of the interesting things that really resonated with me when Jan and I were talking initially is this idea of, I think one of the things that we need to focus on and really change with this is when you are starting a business, you need to be thinking about this from the very beginning. And so I think one of the biggest challenges right now is a lot of people know it's an issue and they want to help. But it's hard to be in a really late stage of your business and just be like, you know what, let's hire some women. But there's so much more to it than that. And I think if you really want to make a change, once you're really far down the road, it takes some real institutional changes that can be very hard and very costly, which needs to happen. Right. But I think if you're starting a business and we're able to start to talk to people who are in the beginning stages, they're in the founder stage, they're looking for founders, come to Women at Austin. These are amazing co-founders that you can work with. These are women who have been in the trenches. They're building companies. They have amazing skill sets. They're very bright. So how do you then make those connections? And I think for women, that can be a challenge as well. So how do you get those networks together, which I think is a big thing that Women at Austin is doing. It's creating networks. It's introducing women to these funders, and it's connecting them to other founders to where if you can kind of change it from the ground up, I think that's a way that we can start making these changes too.
And I can tell you that in the last 4 years, women have come of age. They are growing strong. They have really hit their stride. And with as many women as I talk to, I can tell you also that there are terrific ideas, a lot of innovative things that they're bringing to the table. This is a new era. This is something that, from an economic standpoint, Austin is going to look back in this kind of time frame and see, I believe, how we really made a difference. Not only do we want to be number one on the national stage, but we really want to see this be a virtual cycle where a lot of these women can be successful and then give back when they've reached that point.
That phrase, "it takes a village," just popped to mind, because I know you can really operate very, very much on your own without realizing that there's other people out there doing the same thing. And when you come together, it's just got to be explosive. I mean, so I can't wait to join.
We want you there.
Okay, ladies. Well, thank you so much. I guess
thank you for having us.
We'll wrap it up. But where can people learn more if they want to get involved with Women at Austin or Notley?
Well, Women at Austin's website is women, and we spell it out, womenataustin.com.
Okay, wonderful.
And we're at notleyventures.com, Notley ventures.com. And I think we also link to the Women at Austin site. So
you do.
You can definitely get to it.
And you can go there and sign up, to receive more information.
Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you all for listening and tuning in.